Hello everybody, welcome back. If you're returning, or welcome in the first place if this is your first time visiting the stream today. So earlier today I was just kind of working on standard pages, working on a page from my creator-owned project Forward the Horizon. And usually I stream from about 1:30 to 6 p.m. Central Time. But I thought, well, seems like a lot of people like to watch stuff later in the evening when they're off work, etc., etc. So I thought I would give a later stream a shot. And I decided to save my commission work for this stream. Mainly because commission work, it's kind of like a single illustration. The drawings are a little bit bigger, so it's probably a little bit easier to kind of see what all's going on. But yeah. So I'm going to give a few minutes to kind of let people get in here before we really get started. I think what I'm working on tonight is going to be a solo Nightwing commission, and then if we have time, a Nightwing versus Red Hood commission, which I'm excited to do both of those. I think they'll both be a lot of fun. Sea Shark, hello. Mugen, hello. Chingaman Roll, hello. How are you? Glad to see all of you. Alright, you know what? Actually, I do want to maybe pull up some quick reference material on Google for that first commission. Let me see if I can find something that I'm happy with. I don't think I really need it. I think I have a pretty decent grasp on what it is that I want to do. But, never hurts to have some reference. Yeah, I'm not really finding anything that suits my fancy, and I don't want to spend a whole bunch of time futzing around on Google. So we're just going to kind of get right to this now. With one more delay, I do want to find some tunes to listen to while I work. We'll go with some Taking Back Sunday. That feels kind of Nightwing-y. We'll do Where You Want to Be. Alright, here we go. So we're going to get started with a very rough, very loose very light, very loose underdrawing. so I can kind of figure out exactly what I'm looking for, and then if I make any big mistakes, it's not that hard to erase because, well, you know, the marks aren't that dark. Now, I will admit, this particular commission is for a pretty long time supporter. They've ordered a number of commissions over the years, and I really appreciate it. So I'm going to be going a little bit harder on this than I would on kind of like a standard single character commission, because I like to try to, you know, try to kind of return the favor, as it were. Nothing crazy, but alright, so I'm already pretty happy with how this is looking. So I'm going to start tightening it, excuse me, tightening it up. And, kind of make sure that, like, the proportions are correct. And one kind of important tip, you know, if you're trying to like learn anything here, is it is helpful to actually like draw through stuff. Obviously, Dick's head is going to be in the way of this arm, but drawing the arm as though the head isn't there kind of helps you make sure that it's the right length, it's attaching to the right place, etc., etc. Gotta give him a bit of a booty, because as we all know, Nightwing has like the best buns in the DCU or something like that. And trying to make sure that his legs aren't like too long, especially because they'd be foreshortened. what with his body falling towards us in space. One kind of nice thing about Nightwing is his suit is just like a complete matte black. You know, there's really not a whole lot of detail to it. It really is just kind of making sure the figure work is right. And once you have that, you've pretty much got the drawing done. Um, TN Batman fan, yeah. In fact, generally that's kind of how commissions work. My client basically just is like, "Hey, I would like a commission of this character," and then I just kind of dealer's choice it, as it were. Like for example, Brian literally just ordered the commission Nightwing. That's it. That's the only prompt that I was given for this. So and from there I'm just kind of coming up with this idea. Now, to be fair, you know, if we want to get like really deep into the weeds, I do spend time thumbnailing these out, kind of like going through a few different ideas, unless I land on something right away that I like really think is good, which is actually the case of what happened here. I pretty much had this idea right out the gate and was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. Um, in fact, the only time that I like sometimes I'll actually reach out to the client to just kind of figure out what exactly they want. Um, if it's something where it could really go like a bunch of different ways. For example, like the second commission I plan on working on tonight, the Nightwing and Red Hood one, the client wanted them to be fighting, and specified the costume designs and requested Red Hood to have both a knife and a gun. And because of that specific direction, I wasn't 100% sure if they wanted an adult version of Nightwing and Red Hood or if they wanted the kiddie version. Um, so I emailed them and they were like, "Oh no, I do want the kiddie version." Um, and in my email, when I asked them, I was like, "If you do want the kiddie version, do you mind if I give Red Hood like a Nerf pistol?" Because I just think it's kind of weird to have children age characters with real live firearms. Um, and thankfully, the client responded really quickly and was like, "Oh yeah, like all that's great. That's exactly what I'm looking for." So. And we'll give him a nice big smile, because Dick is a generally more fun-loving, happy character. I tended to perceive Dick a lot like, kind of like how I perceive Peter Parker. Different, to be sure, but kind of in the same general vein. In that they both tend to, kind of like crack wise and make jokes and all that stuff, but a lot of that is because they're kind of masking sort of like a deep sadness kind of thing. I do think Dick is like a generally more optimistic and positive person than even like Peter Parker is. But I do think that there's an intrinsic sadness to him, which I mean, like, how could there not be? He watched his entire family plummet to their death. Oh no! First of all, I'm glad that you mentioned that because I couldn't remember if I was talking to Trevor or not. No, Trevor, you're totally fine. Like it's entirely okay that that you've given direction to stuff. In fact, a lot of times I find it kind of helpful. Like it does sort of take away, some of the legwork that I have to do because it's like okay, I just need to figure out how to draw that Cliff Chang green arrow black canary cover in my style instead of sitting there thinking like okay, like what do I want to do with green arrow and black canary? Like do I want it to be romantic? Do I want it to be actiony? Do I want it to be silly? Do I want it to be serious? On and on and on and on and on it goes. Also, Trevor, thank you so much for being so patient. I think I finally have all your commissions ready to go, with the exception of actually getting the colored prints made. But I think I'll finally be able to start sending them all to you. Oh, well, I'm glad to hear that, Trevor. I'm glad that it has that effect on you. It's pretty much all I really want of my art is to make people smile with it. So I'm glad to know that it's doing just that for you. Sorry, now I'm just kind of thinking. First off, I think I'm going to kind of expand the frame here. There we go. I'm actually going to go ahead and ink that real quick. But not with that one. Honestly, the only reason I'm inking this right now is because it is the frame. And as such, it's not going to change. There we go. Alright, so now from here, I kind of want to do How do I want to do this? Excuse me. Alright, so this is going to be kind of tricky. I'm not really sure if you guys are going to be able to see me do this. Just because of the kind of restrictions of the camera. Putting a vanishing point pretty far off the page. I'm basically going to just lay in some perspective grid lines that I'm going to then use to kind of freehand from there. Oops, blocked my lamp. Yeah, this needs to be more like this. I'm also not terribly worried if this doesn't look like how actual buildings are laid out in a real city. Like if they're kind of like too clustered together kind of thing. Basically just trying to make it look cool. The fact that Dick isn't in Return of the Joker basically makes that film obsolete to me. And like, I'm not trying to be a jerk. Like, I really enjoy that movie otherwise, but that makes literally no sense narratively for him to not have been in Return of the Joker. Metal Cyanide, thank you so much for the follow. First follow of the night. Thank you. Alright, I think that about does it. Yeah, the Bruce Barber stuff never really sat well with me. Excuse me, with me either. I mean, I know that they were like, they're aware of that, and they were aware that when they did it, you know, like they were consciously trying to like shake things up. I just, it's just weird. Like, the age gap is too severe, in my opinion. Like, and I know that age for a lot of people, but yeah, also like Mugen points out, there's also the like actual power dynamic element of it. I just don't think it's a change that actually really adds anything. It's just kind of like a change for change's sake. I mean, I would certainly be willing to like sit down with Deanie or Tim or whoever and kind of like have that conversation with them. Not that I know any of those guys or would ever be able to have that conversation, but you know, like I'd be willing to like hear them out. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Um, but I'm pretty confident there's nothing they could do. Like maybe they could convince me on the idea of it, but the point is the show itself. I don't think the show itself succeeds in accomplishing whatever it was that they might have been trying to achieve. I mean, the most I know is that Bruce has said like it really was just to like shake things up. I have to believe that they had a better idea than just that, but that's the most I've ever heard um, from anyone, you know, directly affiliated with the show. And in case anyone was not aware, I have moved to inking. And if anybody has any questions about any tools or anything like that, I actually do have a Nightbot command, !tools, and it'll let you know like what kind of brushes I use, what kind of ink I use, what kind of pencils I use, all that stuff. Honestly, don't quote me on this, but this might end up just being this Nightwing commission stream because I really don't want to stay on here too late. I can probably at least get the pencils for the other one done. but I'm not sure if I'll be able to completely finish both tonight. Because one thing I never do is rush a commission. People have paid me money to draw them something, and they deserve me to take my time with it, so as to make it as good as I can theoretically make it. I've actually done a few Red Hood commissions over the years. Like, there's definitely examples of it out in the wild. I haven't done a ton of them, but there's definitely at least a handful out there. Excuse me. And then just as a reminder to anyone who is not aware, so I guess that technically isn't a reminder, it's just an announcement. I will be streaming again tomorrow, starting at 1 p.m. Central Time, and we'll be doing another start to finish illustration, including coloring with Copics, like we did last Saturday. This time it will be of Superman rather than Batman. Last week it took about 3 hours start to finish. You know, if you're kind of like curious as to what kind of time commitment that might be, or you know how long you have to be able to catch it. So yeah, probably from at least 1 p.m. Central to 4 p.m. Central, but it's entirely possible that it, you know, ends up taking longer than that. God, my forearm is just covered in ink. I've been working a lot further to the side than I normally do because of this camera here. So I keep getting my forearm in the ink I get off of my brush after I first dip it. Thank you so much to everybody that's come out so far tonight. I really appreciate it. Like I said, this was kind of just a sort of a test, kind of see what the numbers might look like, etc. Since, you know, normally I'm streaming during traditional work hours, so it's probably not easy for some people who might want to swing by. Although I also totally understand if this is not exactly how you want to spend your Friday night. Especially since I guess I'm like competing with a new episode of The Mandalorian, probably. Which, man, oh man, some of the discourse around the spoilers of that show, holy cow. Like, I don't know. It's probably not even worth getting into. Again, it just kind of goes back to, like, why you gotta be such a jerk? Like, and I'm talking about the people that post the spoilers, you know, because, like, I've seen people kind of, like, taking them to task. Like, dude, it is not even 11 in the morning, and people are already posting these spoilers. And I'm seeing people that are like, well, you should just wake up an extra 45 minutes earlier the way I do. That way you'll avoid spoilers. And it's like, what? What? I mean, I don't watch the show because I refuse to subscribe to Disney Plus just on sheer principle. Not that I judge anybody who does, but I am very unimpressed with the level of power that they wield currently over Hollywood and media in general. Honestly, like, it's not even Hollywood at this point, or not even just Hollywood at this point. Excuse me. I mean, that's a whole other thing that I'm sure no one here really cares to hear me rant about, but yeah. But, you know, I still empathize with people who watch the show and enjoy the show and just don't want the like cool big surprises spoiled before they even wake up in time to get their, you know, morning coffee or whatever. Like, you know, you see people that are like, well, you should just stay off social media. It's like, first of all, we're in a freaking pandemic, man. Like, virtually everyone has to be on social media all the time right now. And secondly, even if we weren't in a pandemic, you're basically asking people not to go outside. Like, which again, in a non-pandemic setting, is ridiculous. Like, or you could just not post spoilers. Like, or at least, like my buddy Justin, he's really good about this. He'll make a post, you know, like a very very vague post, kind of saying like I'm about to talk about this thing. This is on Facebook anyway, and then he'll type spoilers like SPOILER. You know, so you have to like unroll the thread or whatever to actually see what he's talking about. And it's like, just do that. It's not hard. Like it's not hard. I'm sorry. I know that this isn't what anybody's tuning in for, but I get really irritated by like very basic lack of consideration. Anywho, it's pretty wild that we haven't actually ever seen Nightwing on the big screen yet. Kind of would have thought that by now. And by now, I mean, you know, in the world that we currently live in, where superhero movies are like a big deal and everything. Although I guess he's in that Titans show or whatever the heck that show was. I don't know, the one where like the first trailer had Robin being like F Batman. We'll go over here. I think this is basically going to end up being kind of a loose homage to Romita Jr.'s Spider-Man 600 cover. Just in terms of approach. Like, Spider-Man is not doing this on that cover. But in terms of its kind of like graphic quality. Which, if you've never seen that cover, it is a very good cover. Like, it might be one of the best Amazing Spider-Man covers of all time. And Amazing Spider-Man has had a lot of pretty good covers. There we go. Alright, so now, because that's pretty much everything I need the brush for, now I'm going to start inking some of these buildings back here. Although, before I do that, I'm also going to turn on another album, because the one I was listening to has ended. What do I feel like listening to now? What the heck do I feel like listening to? Oh, maybe some Yeah Yeah Yeahs. Alright, here we go. Heck, this could maybe become a print, honestly. Now that I'm thinking about it. All right. Oh, hey everybody. Glad to see that some more people have joined us. Yeah, this is probably the first. This is like the first time you guys have seen me tackle perspective stuff. And frankly, this is a very loose approach. Normally, I'm a lot more specific or accurate, I guess. Corvette, thank you for the assist on that. Sorry that I didn't see that in time to answer, Gamer Dad. But yeah, this is a Prismacolor Col-Erase blue pencil. Although it's in a pencil holder, pencil extender, which is basically a hollowed out tube that you can put nubby little pencils in when they get, you know, like too short to comfortably hold to use. And they're very cheap, like under $5. Oh yeah, no, these are great. And you can find them at pretty much, you know, like any standard art store. There's nothing super, you know, rare about it. I mean, a lot of ways they really do save money. You know, I probably buy maybe, I don't know, like a dozen pencils a year at this point because, you know, it. Ludmilla Diaz, thank you so much for the follow. Because the pencil extender really does prolong the life of my pencils so much. And I mean, you know, I draw a lot, so the fact that I only need, you know, like basically a pencil a month. Honestly, this is one of those things where doing it the right way probably would have been probably would have been faster instead of the amount of time I'm taking trying to kind of like ballpark this to make sure it all looks right instead of it just, you know, being right. Oops. Part of me actually wishes that it was not Friday night. And the reason I say it is because I really like going for late night drives, but I try to avoid that on nights when I know that the bars are crowded, or just nights that people tend to drink. And the reason I'd like to go for a drive tonight is because this has been a pretty long day, and it's a way that I really enjoy using to relax. Alright, time to start actually inking this stuff. Oops, I left my ink vial uncapped. I haven't done any of the vertical lines yet. Oops. Easy fix. And then if anybody's curious, this is just a Copic Multiliner Tech Pen at the 0.8 thickness, which is generally what I use for like panel borders and stuff like that. It's thick enough to give you a nice line weight without having to like go over it multiple times. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking this is probably going to be all I'm able to do tonight. But I will be able to finish it. So at least there's that. As opposed to like, nope, didn't even get to finish one. Well, as I always say, we're getting there. This is basically a two-character commission, but one of the characters is the city. All right. nuts. I forgot that I didn't do this building yet. Thought I was totally done with all the this facing sides of the buildings. Not yet. Almost though. Alright. Okay. Well, that's at least all that. Sorry, I'm kind of giving my giving my eyes a chance to kind of unwind a little bit. There goes that album, so time to turn something else on. We're gonna go with Crystal Castles. Actually, you know what? I think I need to kind of... try to clean my ruler off a little bit. Just kind of leaving some scuff marks. Cyrus Troy, thank you so much for the subscription. I really appreciate that a lot. That's super awesome of you. Thank you so very much. Alright, I was gonna try and save doing like all the heavy black stuff for the end because I thought it'd be kind of cool, but if I don't start doing it, I'm just gonna start getting confused. So. Whew. Long day and alcohol-based markers is a heady mix. There we go. This is true. Copics dry fast, and they also dry out your brain cells. And on top of that, man, just the starkness of this image is kind of screwing with me a little bit. feeling that. Quicksilver Archer, thank you so much for the follow. Glad to have you. There you go, Ashley. Another Archer to talk to. She's probably going to be mad that I put her on the spot that way. Oops, there goes my 2-hour alarm. Crew Love, thank you so much for the follow. That puts us at 387 followers. Closing in on 400. Holy cow. All right. Where the heck is my... Oh, here it is. Probably should have just done this one first, honestly. Just get out of the way. Oh my gosh, we're so close. Pretty cute how it's like, oh, don't worry, we'll be doing Batman Day commissions, plural. Little did I know. Oh, cool, a raid. Otherwares, thank you very much. That's so generous of you. Just in time for me to be pretty close to being done with this commission. Still not quite there yet, but almost. Beef Jerky, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate that. Otherwares, thank you not only for the raid, but for the follow as well. Robo Bob, thank you. Josh Spencer Green, thank you very much. I know this is not the most exciting thing in the world, but it's gotta be done. Or at least I think it does. I guess it doesn't have to, but I think it looks a lot better this way. Although we are almost done, finally. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go a little bit harder back there. Also, I apologize if the camera's wiggling every time I use the marker. I'm not sure why, because like the... Oh, because the USB cable is touching the drafting table. Because I was going to say, like, no part of the arm is touching the table. Alright, well I think that covers the cityscape. Well, I'm doing a horrible job at talking this tonight. I apologize. This is just taking a little bit more concentration than I sort of anticipated. But thank you so much. Thank you so much to everybody who's come out. Certainly don't want you to think I take it for granted. And I think that does it. There we go, that's a bit better. Oh boy. Man, my eyes are feeling funky now. Ah. Sorry, I was taking a big old drink of water. Managed to get in just under the gun with the album. Only got 2 songs left on this one before it ends. Managed to finish just in time. Yeah, not gonna lie, I'm pretty happy with how that one came out. Sorry that it took pretty much the entire stream. I was really hoping to get a few pieces worked on, but I think if we're gonna get one knocked out, I think this one's pretty cool. Oh. And again, thank you so much to everybody who's come out. And again, apologies for not being the most talkative. When I open commissions, how do people find out? No, I do have. I have them as a command. It's just not socials, I guess. Just look up the commands and maybe like links or something. I'll be sure to go in and adjust that later. But yeah, usually I announce when commissions open on my social media channels, the JL8 Facebook page, my Twitter, Instagram, etc. Obviously now I'll start announcing it here on stream if if I'm streaming and commissions are open, I'll be sure to mention that. I probably will. Yeah, maybe because I put it in the bio, I didn't think to make it a command. What was I gonna say? I probably will open up commissions closer to Christmas. Not that they won't be able to be done in time for Christmas because I'm too backlogged currently, but they will be on sale. So if you kind of want to save some money on a commission that might be ready early in 2021, probably like first quarter of 2021, probably March at the latest, March or April at the absolute latest. Those will be available. So keep an ear open for that. I'll probably open that up sometime in the next week or two. And like I said, I'll be sure to talk about it both on social and here on the stream while I'm working. For anyone who's not aware, this weekend is also the final order cutoff on my JL8 JSA Worlds Collide print, which is the largest print I've ever done at 17.5 by 22.5. It's also the most characters I've ever featured on a print. It's kind of hard to get it all on camera, but this is it. This actually is the print done for the client who commissioned this piece. So the paper quality on this is going to be a little bit higher than what you would get on the mass market edition, but not by much. I try to make sure that my prints are printed on quality paper. But yeah, that will be available until Sunday morning. So if you want to get a copy of that, please be sure to visit my store, yalestewart.bigcartel.com. I am streaming tomorrow, as I mentioned earlier. That will be starting at 1 p.m. Central Time, and I'll be doing another, because that's kind of what happened here. Complete illustration from scratch. This time, like last weekend, it was Batman. This weekend, it'll be Superman, and not only will it be pencils and inks, but I'll also be coloring it with Copic markers. Unlike last weekend, that won't be a giveaway, but it will be available to purchase at some point, either on eBay or my Big Cartel store. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else. I mean, for people who aren't familiar, I stream every weekday. Right now, the schedule is about 1:30 to 6 Central Time every day. This is my first week doing it, so that's still kind of in flux. But basically, the whole point of my stream is to just have company while I work. So, that might start breaking into a couple hours in the morning, and then the 1 to 6 block in the afternoon and evening. I'm not sure, but yeah, just follow my channel, follow my socials for notifications whenever I go ready. I work on commissions, I work on comic pages, I do warm-up drawings every day that are kind of like big bust shots of my most popular characters that I then make available for purchase at a later date as well. Yeah, so I really hope that you guys are making fun of the size of the print. Yeah, I really hope everybody enjoyed their time hanging out in the stream. It looked like everybody was very engaged with chat amongst yourselves, which is really, really cool to know that, some of you guys are making friends with each other and all that kind of thing. And I'm kind of just chilling right now, so, to kind of make up for the lack of talking during the stream, if anybody has any kind of questions or comments or anything like that, I'd be happy to take some of them. Happy to just hang out and chat for a little bit, just a few minutes. It does feel good to sit down. I will say that. Genius Monster, thank you so much for coming and hanging out. I'm pretty content if even just 3 or 4 people come hang out to have. Yeah, I do stand while I draw. That's a little tip I learned from Stewart Eminem in some interview that he did. It's one of those things like comic art is certainly not the most physically taxing thing to do in the world. So, in an effort to not be a complete potato, I try to stand while I draw. I mean, like occasionally I'll sit. I probably was sitting for a little while during that, but yeah, for the most part, I stand while I work. And I mean, like my drafting table is high. I'm not standing and then like bending over at a 45-degree angle or 90-degree angle to work. My table is high. It's at a pretty steep angle. It's almost like an easel, really. Oh, genius! What manga are you reading? Oh, no Demon Slayer spoilers, please. I'm a little bit behind. I think the last volume I read was 14. Very cool. Ashley actually just got all caught up on the Attack on Titan anime. I haven't personally read the Attack on Titan manga. I've only seen the anime, and even then, only the first season. Yeah, how soon does it? Is it really just a couple days? I do remember when Ashley was watching it, seeing the like, kind of like release date, and I was like, oh wow, that's soon. Yeah, Whoop Whoop Demon Slayer is really good. I was actually shocked at how good it was. I mean, I'm sure it's one of those things like, I mean, nothing is for everybody, but I really really enjoyed it. The anime is also incredible. In fact, as much as I like the Demon Slayer manga, the anime might actually be better. Yeah, we watched Dororo. I'd actually read Dororo maybe a year or two ago, the original Tezuka manga that the anime is based on. It is, they definitely made it better. Like, I really enjoyed the manga, but they really figured out how to take a pretty loose idea and turn it into something pretty special. The Dororo anime is incredible. Honestly, if you've seen the Dororo anime, you can pretty much skip the manga unless you're like a really big Tezuka fan, like particularly his art. So it is, some of the art in there is really incredible. Um, but yeah, the manga of Dororo. No, not Dorohedro. Dororo. Dororo is a current anime based on a fairly old Osamu Tezuka manga of the same name that follows around the main character Hyakimaru, who basically is the son, the abandoned son of a shogun who made a deal with. In the manga, it's like hundreds of demons that basically like you can have my son for me to be like this great warlord, and they literally like take a part of the child when he's born. So like his skin, his limbs, his eyes, his tongue, all this stuff, and they kind of basically like throw the baby away even though it's alive, and a prosthetician finds him and starts developing like basically a functioning body for him, and he grows up to become like this kind of awesome swordsman who goes around trying to hunt down the demons that basically like have the actual parts of his body, and every time he kills one of the demons he gets a part back, whether it's his eyes or his lips or an arm or a foot, whatever. It is freaking awesome. Like, it is really cool. I highly recommend anybody to watch it. Not like, even if you're not, I don't even think that you really need to be a fan of like anime or manga. Like, it's just a really well put together television show. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people are watching that Blood of Zeus show on Netflix. I don't really know much about it, but it seems like people are digging it. A lot of Greek mythology is pretty popular right now between Blood of Zeus and that Hades game or whatever it is. I don't know. I see people talking about it on Twitter constantly. I haven't really had the time to play video games lately, or even honestly the energy or the desire. I'd rather just kind of kick back and read a book or something. Not that I dislike video games. I love video games. I'm just, for whatever reason, just not really in the mood to be playing them right now. The last game I played was, I guess, the 7 remake. Oh no, that's not true. The last game I played was an awful Avengers game. Honestly, it's not awful. It's just not worth 60 freaking dollars. Honestly, the campaign of that Avengers game was pretty cool, even though never ended up finishing it. Um, I kind of just got sidetracked and decided never to. I just never really cared to go back. But the stuff that I played of the campaign was actually pretty interesting. No, it like so here's the thing about a game like Cyberpunk. It's not that it doesn't appeal to me. It's that I'm a 100% gamer, and that goes back to just like my time in high school and everything. And I was in high school around the time of like the major original Grand Theft Auto games, GTA 3, Vice City. Uh, Back when like 100%ing a game was kind of like an accomplishment, but still relatively achievable. Um, and games like that, like I can't help but want to 100% them, and I feel weird if I don't 100% them. But like, it's basically impossible to 100% some of these games now. And also, like, there are games that just like don't actually end. These kind of like live service games and stuff like that. Like GTA 5. They're constantly releasing new new content and stuff for that game, and it's just too much. Like I just get kind of psyched out over it. Oh, I see. But I mean, heck, like I was even kind of done with it by the time San Andreas came out. Like San Andreas was huge. They did kind of like rein 4 back in, because I did play 4 and I really enjoyed 4. Um, I'm not sure if I don't think I 100%ed it. No, Vice City's the best. I mean, obviously it's just like a personal preference thing, but I I will never get tired of Vice City. I'm actually looking at the complete soundtrack box set right now, down there on my shelf. Mugen, it's funny that you mentioned San Andreas' soundtrack being your big selling point, because for me, the Vice City soundtrack is kind of like the thing that edges it for me. And even on top of that, like, kind of like what I was saying, San Andreas just, like, it was so big it felt unwieldy. Like, I've played Vice City recently, um, not recently, but like within the last couple of years, and like, it does feel kind of small by today's standards, but I kind of like how manageable it is. Well, yeah, I mean, like if you're particularly into hip hop, San Andreas is gonna win that 11 times out of 10. I mean, that era basically is the beginning of hip hop. Like, I mean, I know that hip hop started before the '90s, but the '90s is to hip hop what like the '60s is to rock music. And also, truthfully, like, this is just a personal preference thing. I just find the mob kind of more interesting than, like, street gangs, as it were. Just that whole kind of like mythos and everything. And I don't know, like I honestly didn't play that far into San Andreas. Like I don't know if it becomes a little bit more organized. It's really the organization that I dig because like the Wire isn't about the mob, but the Avon's whole organization. Like you got Avon and String at the top, and you got all the captains and everything, and the muscle. Like I find the structure really intriguing. And maybe I'm misremembering, but San Andreas always kind of just seemed like kind of just like random groups of guys beefing with each other. I did 100% that Naughty Dog Spider-Man game. Not on the PS5, like when it originally came out on the PS4. Oh, right, Insomniac. Yeah, Mugen, that makes sense. I don't think I quite got that far in it, but like, yeah, you've gotta if you're gonna do a game like that, the real enemy has to be the cops, especially given where it takes. I mean, San Andreas isn't literally like L.A. and stuff, but I mean, come on, we all know what it represents. Yeah, Spider-Man was really good. I still maintain that Spider-Man 2 had better web swinging, but the Insomniac game was still really fun. I do wish that the people looked better. No, I never did play Red Dead. I've heard nothing but good things, and it's very much up my alley. But again, that kind of came out right as I was getting into that state of mind that I've basically been talking about right now. The whole like, uh, you know, that game just seems a little too big for me. I don't really know if I have the time, etc., etc. I had friends that were into it even back in Red Dead Revolver, but I never got around to even that one. Yeah, I've heard good things about Ghost of Tsushima. Honestly, like the biggest games I'd really be willing to tackle at this point would be like the Dragon Quest games and Final Fantasy games. And honestly, even though I'm a bigger Final Fantasy fan, I'd probably be more inclined to finish a Dragon Quest game just because it's like Final Fantasy meets Animal Crossing in some ways, just in terms of like the vibe of it. Like it just doesn't feel like you have you don't feel the pressure of it. It's just like wrapping yourself up in like a cozy blanket. Yeah, the 7 remake is cool. I'm not really sure how I feel about how it ended. Um, some of that kind of boils down to semantics. I'm kind of thinking that they're going to be doing something that uh, I think doesn't really fall under the quote unquote remake descriptor. Uh, cause like the thing, I've had a big talk. I've had a lot of talks with friends about this. Like to me, technically, remake means you are remaking a game. It doesn't mean that you're re. It is different than like a remaster, but kind of the way that it was tossed around for 7 remake did kind of seem like it's still going to try to be pretty faithful to the original game. Whereas I think that what they're doing is kind of like a remix. Like, they're like completely changing. It's like, oh, what if we made it today? Period. Like not just like, oh, if we had the modern day graphics and mechanics and play styles and all that. It's like, what if we actually just like went back to the drawing board and decided to like, how would we decide to tell this story today? And basically, I think that the game is going to be very different than the original Final Fantasy VII, which isn't really what I signed up for. Um, but we'll see. And I mean, like them doing stuff different with the remake doesn't, my copy of 7 over here in my gaming area doesn't just like evaporate into thin air. Like I can still play Final Fantasy VII whenever I want to. Um, and honestly, like I kind of, you know, the original version of 7 is the version that I grew up on. So, as cool as 7 Remake is, was, could be, whatever, um, that original low polygon count PS1 version, excuse me, is always going to be my favorite version. Yeah, the ruined childhood thing, that generally speaking, I agree with you. I do think there are like some exceptions where I think that there is some credence to it, but it's pretty few and far between. Um, I can certainly see that in like a more macro sense where you really liked something and then it kind of became this like really big thing, but the thing that appeals to like the wider audience is very different than the stuff that appealed to you about it, and then that franchise or that property starts like really leaning in hard on that stuff. So like the thing that you were originally a fan of, it doesn't change, but like the way that you're able to kind of engage with it as a fan sort of changes because you keep running into people who are also fans, but they're very different fans than you are. Does that make any sense? Like again, this is pretty like fringe, and I know that when people are saying you ruined my childhood, they're not going this deep on it, but I think it's kind of worth mentioning. Oh, it's almost entirely uh, hipster gatekeeper. I'm not going to deny that. I'm glad that you like it, Corvette. I'll be honest, I actually can't believe that people are still in here talking talking right now. But I'm glad that people are hanging out. I'm really enjoying just kind of waxing on and off about Pop culture. Well, thank you, Genius Monster. I really appreciate that. Yeah, kind of talking about the emote thing. I need to try and figure out how to make some more emotes. I mean, Lord knows I've got plenty of art to choose from that I could turn into emotes. Oh yeah, the Howl one. That's a good one. I like that one. Ashley's a big fan of that one. I'm glad they're big enough. Like you can see what they are, or at least on my screen they are. Awesome. I'm glad that you guys think that they're good looking. Am I ever going to show my face on camera? Yeah, sure. I'm not trying to hide anything. I just kind of ask people like, oh, is face cam like a big deal for art streams? And people are like, no, not really. Because I mean, I'm like just getting started, so I wasn't really sure if I need to like go out and buy another camera to have it or something like that. But I mean, eventually, like maybe that'll one day be like a stream goal or something to try and get money for a second webcam. Although there'll probably be a Niles cam before there's a Yale cam. Oh, genius! Have we met before? Oh man, my last year at NYCC. I haven't been back since then. Well, thank you so much. I appreciated the support then. I appreciate the support now. Hopefully one day I'll be back in the Big Apple for a show, but ain't nobody going to the Big Apple for a convention for a while these days, which is unfortunate, but you know, gotta stay safe. That's not sarcasm either. I want to make that very clear. Oh boy, I'm definitely feeling it today in my shoulders, let me tell you. It actually feels like I've been at a convention all day, which is weird. I wonder if that's the trick. I wonder if it's because I'm drawing and talking, and that's what wears my shoulders out. Yeah, I mean, two of my friends just tested positive. Thankfully, Ashley works from home. She's in HR. She's not frontline. But my two friends are. They also work at a hospital. One's an OR nurse. Yeah. Jess is also a nurse. I'm not sure if it's just like a I'm not sure what kind of nurse she is, but yeah, that really sucks. We don't need to go into all that right now though. I mean, not that I am averse to talking about it, but like we were having a pretty like positive conversation. Um, and actually I was enjoying not having to think about that stuff for a while. So, not trying to bring anybody down with talking about the relatively dour situation that we find ourselves in. Is there a reason why I can't put my art on shirts? I can put my art on shirts. I just don't because logistically it's kind of a nightmare. Like there's not really like a great print to order way to do art on shirts except for like Society 6 or whatever, and they keep so much of the profit. Fans are paying like $25 for a shirt and I get like $3 out of that or something. Yeah, I mean, like I would like to have my art on shirts, mainly because I'm a big T-shirt fan. Like I think T-shirts, basically, like as an art form, like as fashion, I'm a big fan of T-shirts, um, or anything else. It doesn't have to just be T-shirts, but it's just tricky because like all the different sizes and I mean, honestly, just the sizes thing alone is really what it boils down to. Like how many mediums do you need to get made? How many XLs do you need to get made? XSs do you need to get made? Yeah, that's kind of a cool idea. I've actually thought about doing a new convention banner kind of similar to that. Where, like, I don't know, maybe like Clark is at the top flying and they're all kind of just like hanging onto his foot as like a human chain. If I were getting real fancy, I've actually seen like their convention banners now. They're like motorized and they like scroll up infinitely. So you could kind of do it where it looks like they're constantly flying up and off the banner. But I'm sure those things are probably like 500, $1,000 or something. I'm not about to spend that kind of money on a convention banner. I do need to get a new convention banner though. The one I've got is getting fairly beat up. And it's also just old. Like I've gotten better artistically since then. I'd like to have something a little bit fresher. I think I've had that thing since like 2013, which I mean now that's almost 8 years ago, which is crazy to think about. But I mean, it might as well be like it's far and away my most famous piece. I mean, We Will Be Giants is probably is a pretty close second, but I do think it is a second. No, actually, because like the awkward Bruce, people just like use that in conversation. You have to like consciously share "We Will Be Giants," but people just like throw awkward Bruce into like a text. I mean, you could format it to a way where the entire image would be like above my head. You wouldn't need to do "We Will Be Giants" in a way that the characters would be at the bottom of the banner. Thank you, Mugen. I really appreciate that. Facial expressions are actually something I take a lot of pride in. I'm interested in WW84. I'm not dying to see it. I enjoyed the original Wonder Woman movie, but I wasn't crazy about it. Honestly, a big part of me not being crazy about the original Wonder Woman movie is the fact that Ares just looked like a freaking dork. Like when he turns into Ares, why does he still look like a nerdy British man? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Whoop Whoop. I feel really bad about that. It's definitely worth watching, the original Wonder Woman. It's definitely worth watching. But truthfully, I think it might mean more to female fans. Let me rephrase that. I think female fans might find it better than male fans, like which is completely valid. Like I don't want to sound like I'm not trying to sound like sexist or something like that, but like there is something very special that women have and those who identify as a woman have been waiting for a very very long time. You know, same with Black Panther. Like I will never respond to Black Panther the way that my black friends responded to Black Panther, and that's okay. Um, you know, and hopefully, one day we get to a point where that's not a thing anymore because people are well represented in media. But as it stands now, yeah, there are going to be certain pieces of media that just certain people respond to more viscerally than others because it's special for them in a way that it's not for others. And again, that's okay. You know, um, there are albums that I love um, that I'm sure other people just don't really care for or aren't as impacted by because they've not experienced, the death of a friend or something. But that's like what the album is all about. So it's really powerful to me. But someone who maybe hasn't ever gone through something like that, it's kind of just like a piece of music. Yeah, apparently, so fun fact, apparently the actual costume didn't have a mouth covering that was like CG'd in. Like on the set, Chadwick's mouth is just exposed like a Batman mask because the silhouette of it is like too snub nosed, I guess. So, you know, literally Chadwick's nose like couldn't fit comfortably in it. And if I remember right, they wanted to just, you know, put the uh you know, just like extend the mask out so that he could just wear the full mask. But the higher ups didn't like the way that the mask looked that way. So they're like, well, we'll just cut a hole out and CG it in later. Train fight? What? I actually don't know if I remember a train fight in Black Panther. I remember thinking the final fight didn't look that good. Oh, okay. I thought that's what it was, but I was like, I couldn't remember. Yeah, when Panther and Killmonger are both in the suits and fighting, that did not look very good, which is obviously pretty disappointing. Well, they didn't kill Baron Zemo. He's still around. They didn't kill any of the Spider-Man villains, did they? They definitely didn't kill anybody in Homecoming. I can't remember if Mysterio died in Far From Home. I don't think he did. Yeah, Michael B. Jordan is incredible. He's a fantastic actor. Yeah, I'm also a big fan of his. Yeah, we do still need to watch Creed 2. Yeah, Tessa Thompson's also awesome. Ashley, did you have to Google her name? Ashley is notoriously awful at remembering actor names. Well, if she didn't want to get called out, she needs to stop doing stuff worth calling out. Oh yeah, roasting is a particular talent, and very few people are actually good at it. But anyway. Oh yeah, 100%. Well, you can watch a movie by yourself. I am not watching a movie tonight. What, are you all done with all your dramas? Yeah, I might. I don't know. I'm not actually like I'm physically exhausted, but I'm not particularly like tired. So I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do. But I am probably gonna wrap this up here soon. Honestly, just mainly because my throat's starting to go, and I am remembering the fact that I'm also doing this again tomorrow. So I should probably try to save a little bit of energy. Uh, I might go for a little bit of a drive. Yeah, I'm glad that you thought so, Mugen. I mean, I had fun, although, like I keep saying, I was pretty laser focused on the commission for most of it. But it was nice looking over and seeing people talking amongst themselves in chat and everything. Hopefully, we get a few more people tuning in tomorrow. I mean, like I said, I'm not greedy. I'm totally fine to just have a couple people in here, but you know, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't trying to grow the channel a little bit. But we'll see. It has only been 1 week after all. Anyway, on that note, I think I'm going to call it a night. Thank you so much to everyone who stopped by. And hopefully, I will see some of you guys tomorrow. Have a good night, everybody. Take care.